Welcome to Bolivia's capital, one of the highest cities in the world and the highest capital in South America. This city has insane landscape, literally 20 minutes from the city center, a street food that costs less than $1, and a culture so unique it warmed my heart. In this video I'm going to show you everything I did, what it actually costs, what's worth your time, and everything you should know before visiting the city. Welcome everyone, I'm Val, a Colombian traveling the world, and let's explore the highest capital in South America. Okay, so first things first. I actually arrived yesterday to La Paz, but I had to take the day off to rest because this city is high. I am already from Bogota, which is 2,600 meters above sea level, but La Paz is 3,650. So it's already 1,000 meters higher than my own city, and you feel the lack of oxygen. So my advice to all of you is that you take a day to adapt, especially if you come from places that are at sea level or lower than 2,600 meters, like Bogota. After that, welcome to Bolivia. So for my second day, and after getting used to the lack of oxygen, I went for breakfast before heading to the city center. My first stop was Plaza Murillo, which is basically the political and historical center of the entire country. You've got the presidential palace on one side, the National Congress on the other, and the Metropolitan Catedral right here, all in one square. It is actually really similar to the way Bogota's main square in the city center is set up. One very interesting thing in here is that the clock of the main square was reversed in 2014, so the clock was running backwards, and that was intentional. The Bolivian government reversed it as a statement. The idea being that Bolivia has its own sense of time, its own direction. By the end of 2025, the clock was put again to its regular running way, so it stopped running backwards. And in the same square, you can also visit the Metropolitan Cathedral. The Metropolitan Cathedral was built in 1831 in neoclassical style. The columns inside are Corinthian. The scale of it is massive, like many other churches in South America and in the world actually, and it's completely free to walk in. Just take a moment inside to explore the entire church. If you're religious, you can check the schedule for the mass, because it's one of those places that's genuinely quiet, even in a loud city. After the main square, I came to Jaén Street, which is La Paz's best preserved colonial street. It has a different kind of energy because it's a very quiet spot in the city, and it shows the original colonial structures that were built many years ago. The street has several small museums clustered together. You can buy one ticket and see all of them, but the one I want to highlight is the Museo Nacional de Etnografía y Folklore, that is actually on the parallel of Jaén. This museum covers Aymara and Quechua indigenous culture, textiles, ceremonial masks, traditional dresses, and all the history of the indigenous communities before and after colonization. It is actually one of the best museums in Bolivia, and it costs 35 Bolivians for foreigners. So I just came out of the museum, and it's actually a place packed with history of the culture of not only Bolivia but other South American countries. So our next stop is going to be La Coca Museum, which is a 10 minutes walk from Jaén Street. And yeah, I know how the name sounds, but remember that before anything, this is a place of history and culture. I believe they don't let me take pictures or videos inside, so I'll just let you know how it was when I get out. So I just got out of the museum, and let me tell you that it's a place that you should definitely visit. The museum is small, but it tells the history of how coca leaves marked a very important part within the culture of Latin American natives and indigenous people. Part of the history is that the indigenous people, especially from Bolivia, use coca leaves in different contexts. So they chew on the coca leaves for different purposes, which is very interesting. And it is also a way of communicating with their gods, ancestors, and the spirits of their family. So chewing coca leaves is also a way for the shamans to communicate with what they call the other side. And finally, another very interesting thing they tell you in the museum is the origin of Coca-Cola. So apparently in the 1863, a guy named Angelo Mariani created a wine from cocaine. It was legal back then. So the wine got very popular and all of that, but when the time came for the USA dry law, where alcohol was basically banned, he had to change the formula so it stopped being wine, but it still was a beverage. So he created something new based on cocaine extract, water, crazy amount of caffeine, and a carbonic gas. And that's how Coca-Cola was born. And there is also a study that says that, unlike popular thought and even some scientific thought, coca leaves don't produce any addictive or any of the effects that the drug, the processed drug, cocaine in itself does produce. So it was actually pretty interesting. And the entrance fee is 20 bolivars. To end my day, I came here to the viewpoint Killi. It's a free viewpoint in La Paz, and this is what you see. La Paz sits inside a canyon. The city just spills down the sides of it. And at this time of day, it looks almost unreal. This is the kind of view that people pay a lot of money for in other cities. Here, it's just a 15-minute walk from the city center, and it's free. You can stay up there until the light is completely gone. So today started with one must-do experience here in La Paz, and it's riding the Teleférico, which is basically La Paz cable cars. Very similar to how they work in Medellin and even the ferry in Istanbul. This is just public transport in the city. Like I mentioned, La Paz sits in a valley at around 3,600 meters above sea level. El Alto, the city directly above it, which is actually connected to La Paz, sits at over 4,000 meters. For a very long time, the only way between these two places was a winding, congested road. Then, they built this, one of the longest urban cable car systems in the world. The ride cost depends on your stop from La Paz city center to El Alto station. It's around 3 bolivars. And what you get for that is a bird's eye view of this entire city. Neighborhoods stacked on top of each other, the canyon walls, the patchwork of rooftops, and if the sky is clear, the Illimani mountain in the background. It's one of the best deals in South America, full stop. To arrive to El Alto, you have 2 different stations. You have to take the purple line from the center of the city and either drop off in the Faro station or the final station of the purple line. In El Alto, you can do different things like going to the markets. There is a market on Sundays, a big market on Sundays, so if you come on a Sunday, you may see that market. There is another one on Thursdays, so you may also see that one, but in general, there are markets that are open all around the small city. And another thing you can do is watch the multiple viewpoints El Alto has that have an amazing view of La Paz. There is also another special activity that you can do in El Alto, but more on that later. So after coming down from El Alto, I came to one of the most popular markets in all of Bolivia, the Witch Market. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. The Witch Market is located on Linares Street in the city center. The reason why it's so popular and interesting is because of the herbs, amulets, and the llama fetuses hanging from the stalls. Yes, you heard that right. Llama fetuses and babies are sold at this market. And before you get all weirded out, it is all genuinely part of the Aymara spiritual tradition of offers that are made to Mother Nature or Pachamama. And before you ask if those are real, yes they are. Well, the majority of it. Aside from souvenirs and things for tourists, the Witch Market also offers things for different rituals of what the culture calls white magic. It is a place in La Paz that people actually look forward to visiting. But the curious thing about this is that the market I'm standing right now in is the tourist version of it, so it doesn't have as much of the stuff as you may think. The real Witch Market is actually located in El Alto, and that one has more culture and history than the tourist version. Right after the Witch Market, I got picked up for one of the most special experiences that you might see in this country. And I assure you, you're not going to see it anywhere else. So cholitas are Aymara indigenous women. You see them all over La Paz and actually all over Bolivia in their traditional dresses. There are the layered skirts called polleras, the bowler hats, the long braids. They are everywhere in the city. They sell food, they run markets, they drive taxis. And on the evenings in El Alto, some of them get in a wrestling ring and absolutely destroy each other. It is part wrestling, part soap opera, pure theater. There are villains and heroes, the crowd screams, people from the audience get pulled into the ring, which was a very interesting part of it all. But here is what I want you to understand, and this is important. This isn't a performance made for tourists. This is a cultural tradition that was developed by these women as a form of empowerment and storytelling. The costumes are real. The athleticism is also real. And of course, the cultural pride is very, very real. Also, again, remember that there is a lot of theater involved in this. So be respectful. At some point, I saw some tourists throwing food at the cholitas. Don't behave like that. So for this one, I took a tour, not because it's necessary to see the show, but for the transport. Because usually this wrestling show, it's at night or later in the afternoon. Because El Alto at night as a solo woman is not where you want to be navigating transport on your own. So since the tour handles pickup, drop-off, sitting, snacks, and even a small souvenir, it's worth every penny. You will find the tour in international websites like Viator, Get Your Guide, and all of those. But I actually used a local website called Red Cap Walking Tours to book mine. And I got picked up and dropped off at the city center, and it cost $15. So today I came to Valle de la Luna, which is 20 minutes away from the city center. In English it translates Valley of the Moon, and it looks like you've landed on a different planet. These formations are made of clay and volcanic ash that have been eroding for millions of years. Wind, rain, temperature changes, they've sculpted all of this. The tallest spires reach several meters high, and some of them look like they shouldn't be standing. Getting here is actually quite simple. You just take a bus from Estudiante Square or Plaza Estudiante to a place called Mayasa. The bus is about 5 Bolivians, which is very cheap. And then you will arrive to the valley. You can also take taxi or Uber. The entrance fee to the valley is 20 Bolivians for foreigners. And there are 2 paths, a 45 minutes path that can actually take an hour or a 15 minutes path. So I'm going to be completely honest with you, since this is the point of this whole channel. I do believe that La Paz is a city worth visiting if you come to Bolivia. You should include it in your itinerary. Now that said, in my opinion, it's not the perfect city. The altitude can seriously humble you. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it took me a full day to adapt to the lack of oxygen. And even sometimes when I was fast walking across the center, I sometimes felt like I couldn't breathe. And if you're expecting everything to be punctual and organized and all of that, let me tell you that La Paz might teach you a lesson in patience. Bolivia is a developing country like many other South American countries, and that does mean that sometimes its structure is hard, like for example, figuring out public transport, finding out how to get to some things, roads are slow and all of that. Do I think the city is still worth visiting? Absolutely yes. Include it in your itinerary for a couple of days, and that's plenty. Regarding safety, you have to take the usual precautions that you will take anywhere in the world, but aside from that, it's pretty safe. I could walk with my phone outside, except in certain areas, of course. And that's it. Leave me a comment if you've ever been to Bolivia, and if this video helped you, don't forget to subscribe so YouTube keeps helping us grow. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you all on the next trip.